Creative Inkster. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, so it is Technique Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. I've been having a lot of fun the last few weeks playing with Amazing Silhouettes, a stamp set that if you're a demonstrator you got for free at the Onstage last year, and it has some cool dies that go with it. They do "You Are Amazing" and "Thanks," which you can, mix and match those words, but it only has 3 stamps, and it seems like something you might overlook in the catalog. But I wanted to help you fall in love with it and try and do some new things with it. So I've totally been enjoying it. Here's a card that I found on Pinterest to copy, which has this gorgeous tree in the background. And I loved how it's got a bunch of different colored blossoms coming out of the tree. I made this one up ahead of time, and tonight during our live I'm going to go ahead and make a summer version with green leaves on all of those branches, and I'm going to show you how I made this. So if you're watching live, please leave me a comment and let me know that you're here. I love connecting with you. And if you're watching the replay, do let me know. I always read through my comments and get a chance to connect with you that way. When I made this card, I used a soft suede card base, so I will pop a piece of white on the inside for writing. This is petal pink, and then this is a piece of white that goes inside. So to make this piece fit on this particular die, it's 2.5 by 3 7/8. And I stamped in soft suede. Hi, Vicki. I stamped this one up in soft suede, and then I did the technique that I'm going to show you with 3 of our Stampin' Blends. Petal Pink, the dark one. I find that the light Petal Pink is really, really light. Light Calypso Coral for just sort of that salmon-y color that comes through, and light Flirty Flamingo to add some really pretty blossom colors to our card here. Now, if you have another stamp set that does the same idea, that also has some open images, it doesn't maybe have the shadowing around it, but an image like this, you will find that you could use this technique the same way. And if not, I hope I've shown you how much I love Amazing Silhouettes, and perhaps you'll think of picking that up for your stash. I'm also going to need a color to color in the tree branches. So on this one, I've used dark Crumb Cake. Soft suede just seemed a bit dark for me, and so I decided to go with the Crumb Cake as a little bit of a contrast. All right, let's put aside what I've already done, and we'll get inked up here. So we're grabbing the large tree image, and I'm using it on my eye block for that size of block. If you have a Stamparatus, that would be perfect as well. For this summer version, I'm using Night of Navy. I've already put my insert on the inside. I've got a piece of white that I'm going to put on the outside for some contrast of color. And here is my embossed soft suede. So typical layers. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and this one here in soft suede is 3 3/4 by 5. And then my nice little die, which is the this is the Scallop Contours die, and it is in Granny Apple Green. So that's going to pop right off of there. And then I've cut my white that I'm doing my stamping on to fit inside there. All right, so that was it about the layers. I'm going to grab my messy piece here, so when I ink this up, I don't get it all over my nice, fresh, clean piece of grid paper. So this stamp, you can do a couple of things. You can add the ink to it and stamp it full strength, or you can stamp it off once and just stamp it as a second generation ink. I'm going to go full strength as I did on the spring version. So I'm positioning it so that the tip of the tree is near the top, and it does come off a little bit. You'll see that there's a bit here that kind of falls off. That's fine. Let's move that out the way. I think I might need this though to color on, but you won't be able to see what I'm doing. All right. I'm going to grab Granny Apple Green. This is dark, this is light. And we're going to do what I mentioned in my blog post, which is reverse thumping, or it's just a different way of doing it. So I'm going to use the bullet end, so not the brush end that we usually color with, but the bullet end. And I'm going to put a bunch of dots all over the leaves. I'm staying away from the trunk because I'm going to color that in with my crumb cake. But I am adding just a bunch of dots. Now you can, as you can imagine, this works wonderfully for the 3 pink colors for the spring with the blossom look that I did and showed you the card about that I did ahead of time. But also imagine if you used pumpkin pie, cherry cobbler, maybe a little bit of green and some yellow, you would have a gorgeous fall card in exactly the same idea, which I may do yet tonight because this is kind of fun. So I'm just putting a whole bunch of dots, giving it like the chicken pox here with my light Granny Apple Green. Then I'm going to take the dark Granny Apple Green. It's pretty easy with the summer version because we're just going to be using the greens. But I could also have grabbed the old olive or any of the other colors of green that we have to add depth of color in different shades. But you'll see when you have a piece of white, usually your dots will show through, your coloring will show through. And true to form, that's what's happening here. And it's okay to go over top of the other ones that you've already done in the lighter color. And you can go back and add light colors afterward. This one just seemed to go really quickly. So I've mentioned about perhaps doing fall colors and doing an autumn version of this card. But for winter, where there are no leaves on the trees, wouldn't it look very cool if you stamped it in maybe a gray or a navy, night of navy, and simply left the white unstamped, and you would have more of a winter looking one. Must have missed a few dots here. So I'm going to take a sit back a wee bit and see, do I want to add some more light? Because it might need filling in a little bit here and there. So it's just a step away from going in and coloring it all in. And using that bullet point just gives you another look to it. There we go. All right, so there's our tree leaves colored in with the 2 versions of green. And then I'm going to take my crumb cake and I'm going to carefully color in the trunk of the tree and the little branches, the little offshoots. I'm actually going to go over some of my green where I got carried away and had it come out of the side. And there's even branches that go this way if you want to really reach out to them beyond the trunk. Ooh, that one there and this one here. And you'll see, because it's going to contrast it so nicely, that it will pop. Try maybe the soft suede and see too, if that's the color that you've got. Now, can you do this with Stampin' Right markers and pencil crayons? Hey, why not? I just think Stampin' Blends is kind of the way to go with this one. Just see if I've missed any here. There we go. All right, so let me hold that up so you can see. There is our summer version. Oh, the sun is just streaming in here with its green leaves on there. All right, so back to our pieces and attach this guy to the Scallop Contours die cut. down a wee bit. There we go. And then onto a nicely embossed. So this is the Timber 3D embossing folder. Works really well for embossing on. The brick one would look nice too, I think. I'm going to pop this up though. I'm going to grab my dimensionals and pop this baby up. But what fun you could have with a few pairs of Stampin' Blends or your other markers. Our Stampin' Write markers, which I showed last week, have a brush tip and a bullet tip. The bullet's really a lot more for writing. It's not as thick, but you could do the same with the brush tip. Now we're going to put it on some white, and that'll make it pop up just that little bit more. There we go. It's a gorgeous day here in Ontario. We are going to get a few hot days, which means I'll probably be inside. We'll see. There's the card base. Just want to make sure I glue it in the right spot and not glue it down on and have the white show up on the wrong side. Because, you know, we've all done that once or twice. And then I had a little embellishment. So on my other one here, I used this petal pink ribbon that's retiring. But I've also got our Baker's Twine Essentials pack. And I'm going to grab one of those colors in here because this reminds me very much of crumb cake. And I'm going to do a double bow. So I usually just take about, what is this, 7 inches twice. And if you find that yours is super curly, you can just take the edge of your bone folder and kind of run it along there. You're kind of holding it like you were going to actually curl that curly ribbon on scissors. It's the same kind of movement, but you're going to straighten it out, and it does help it straighten out a wee bit. Do a nice little bow. The linen thread works well too, but I just find this one looks very much like crumb cake. It's a little bit better match. Radio. That's good there. Hi, yes, isn't it gorgeous out? I know. I want to get in the backyard. I need to go out and set the sprinkler to go again for the second round for today. This is my second week of having the new lawn, and I can go and sit on another spot and let it do its work on the grass and enjoy the rest of the sunshine. Gorgeous, gorgeous night before the mosquitoes decide to pop out. Now you'll notice I didn't put a greeting on this. Totally okay. Oh, see, I got that one kind of fiddling around there on me. I can add a greeting later on if I like. I'm just going to snip the little curly edges off with my good ribbon scissors. There we go. And voila, there are 2 cards for 2 seasons of the year. And I think one for fall with those other colors would round this out nicely. Wouldn't that be beautiful if you had these on a frame, either a square frame or a long rectangular frame with the different seasons? That would make a beautiful piece of decorative art to put on your wall or put in an office. Very welcoming. I think maybe I'm going to take a look at doing that. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial, and I will be back next week on Monday, and you enjoy this nice weather. Bye for now.